Tonight, violent offspring. Imagine being afraid of your own children. Swim in shame, alcohol, drugs and bullying. The Aussie swimmers who are not so pure on dry land. Bundaberg rebuilds. 2 floods in 2 years. Can this community ever really recover?
You know, you sort of wonder, why have I chosen to do this with my life? Like, maybe I should be going to do something else.
She had so much fun last night. Tonight, Hollywood's Rebel Wilson joins us on the desk for the entire show. Plus, we cross to the Hoff, and Terry and Bindi Irwin join us live in the studio. This is The Project. Welcome to The Project, and joining us tonight we have Rebel Wilson!
Some projects I've been involved in have been pretty disastrous, like DIY bikini wax. This project, the television project, hopefully it's going to go way better than that.
So, but just to establish DIY bikini, that wasn't a TV show, was it? No, that was...
No, that was just a personal project.
That project never goes wrong.
Yeah, but this is a nationally televised project, so who knows?
All right, well, let's see what's happening in the news today, Tuesday the 19th of February, and the Greens say their alliance with Labor is over because the Gillard government walked away, siding instead with the mining industry. They're upset Labor won't redesign the mining tax, but they're still promising to support supply bills and oppose no confidence motions ahead of the September election.
What has become manifestly clear is that Labor, by its actions, has walked away from its agreement with the Greens and into the arms of the big miners.
The AFL has found the Melbourne Football Club not guilty of tanking in the 2009 season, but former staffers Dean Bailey and Chris Connolly have both been suspended for acting in a manner that was prejudicial to the game. The league's blaming Connolly for most of the mess.
He made a comment regarding the performance of the team, the desire to secure a priority pick, and I know he now regrets that comment.
The Demons were also hit with a $500,000 fine. The New South Wales government has bowed to pressure and widened a ban on coal seam gas mining near homes, country towns and rural industries such as horse studs and vineyards. The new rules could cost gas companies billions, and the industry claims it will stifle the state's energy market. Salvage crews are working on a 50-foot trawler that's posing an environmental threat at Cronulla Point in Sydney South. The trawler ran aground overnight with 4 people on board. One of them had minor injuries. They were rescued early this morning. And Tony Abbott's taken a thinly veiled swipe at Julia Gillard's choice of communications manager, a man who has a broad Scottish accent. Criticising Labor's use of imported politics and personnel, he says everyone in the coalition will be homegrown.
We will speak with a strong Australian accent, always have, always will.
I've got to say, if this election comes down to who has the most Aussie accent, I think Julia might actually win.
And isn't he from Britain anyway?
What?
Isn't he from Britain
He was born in Britain, Julia was born in Wales.
Yeah.
I'm going to look for a job with the Liberals, though.
How do you go with it? Do you really ham up your Aussie accent when you're in America?
Yeah, sometimes if I want to get things for free or something, or if I want to get out of a fine from the police, I'm like, oh, but I didn't know.
That sounded like a New Zealand accent.
In the movie Pitch Perfect, you're allowed to do your own accent, weren't you?
Yeah, because I tried to do the American accent and they just said, not good. Just speak with your real voice if it's easier for you. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you let us know what you think about anything that's on the show tonight. You can hop on any of the sites on your screen now and have your say.
Fair to say Tony Abbott is riding a wave of popularity, and he feels like he's the man wherever he goes. He was in a Sydney cafe today hanging out with Bubs and Mum, yeah? No, but then he moves over to, this is where he's very happy, this young lady, and he's having a good time there. And tell you what, though, someone just wanted to butt in.
No, casually, so yeah. Yeah, we're getting married next month,
So get on your bike, Tony!
We're going to take a break, but we're going to be talking to the Hoff very soon. Stick with us.
Coming up, the latest on the Oscar Pistorius murder case. Violent offspring. Imagine being afraid of your own children. Plus, it all goes off as we cross to the Hoff. You're watching The Project.
Ever wanted a bottle. SKT.
Welcome back, everyone.
After bringing home just one gold from the London Olympics, Swimming Australia has taken a good hard look at itself. And with 2 key reports into their performance released today, it looks like they've got a long way to go.
The London Olympics might seem like a distant memory now, but not for our swim team. They won a whole lot of silver and they seem to think they'd let us all down.
All you want to do is just go out there and represent your country and do a good job, and I was just trying to do that.
Wow. I have no idea why silver medalist Emily Seebohm thought only gold would cut it.
This time round, a gold is the only option.
I'm ready to come home with a gold medal. I'll be up there on the top of the podium.
So anyway, the swimming team came away with 1 gold, 6 silver and 3 bronze. And for the green and gold track-suited fans at home, Swimming Australia promised a review to see if something had gone wrong. And today, that review, as well as an independent government report into the culture and leadership in Australian Olympic swimming, have been made public. And it turns out for swimmers, London was the lonely Olympics. 24 out of 47 of our swimmers were first-time Olympians. The reviews found there were high expectations of success from traditional media, but also from an increasingly loud and relentless social media. But there wasn't a lot of formal leadership to help young swimmers through it. The Swimming Australia review said there were enough toxic incidents, such as swimmers getting drunk, misusing prescription drugs, breaking curfews, lying and bullying, to warrant a strong leadership response. But no such action was taken. The reports have recommended changes across the board, including better leadership, a new ethical code for swimmers and coaches, a good look at swimming's funding model, and for Swimming Australia to take better control of their social media message.
We've clearly got some issues that we've got to address with governance of the sport.
So can Swimming Australia turn their fortunes around, or is it up to us to stop expecting rivers of gold?
Libby Trickett is an Olympic swimmer who competed in 2004, 2008 and 2012. Libby, these are damning reports of Swimming Australia's leadership culture. How did the London experience compare to previous Olympic experiences for you?
For me, it was very, very different. I retired in 2009, so I had a couple of years out of the sport. I didn't see sort of the changes that were made over those couple of years before making the team in 2012. But in comparing 2012 to my previous Olympic experiences, it was quite a stark contrast for me. More than half the team were rookies in terms of the Olympics, so it was interesting to see that different squads were doing different staging camps before we went into London. People were coming in at different times. It just was very staggered, and I think that really sort of contributed to the feeling of not connected with your teammates.
Well, did social media stop the team being social with each other? Emily Seebohm has said that the Twitter possibly cost her a gold medal. Do you think that Twitter and Facebook might have cost Aussies medals?
You know, it's a good question because it's a generational thing. I mean, you go to a shopping centre nowadays and you see thousands of kids just on their phones, not actually talking to one another, but actually, you know, tweeting each other or connecting on Facebook. And I think it is an issue that we are now facing as a society. But it's something that, particularly for someone like Emily or James Magnuson even, to acknowledge that, okay, we made a mistake, I need to acknowledge that, and how can I do that better? For me, I got off Twitter and Facebook and all of those things. I pretty much turn my phone off 24 hours before I compete, and I think that's a really important thing for me that I find really useful, but it still allows me to connect with my followers and my supporters and let them see a side of my journey and my experience.
Libby, you've been very fair and gentle in your responses today, but obviously it was a disappointment for you guys as well. I mean, we've had a golden run. Do we, as spectators, expect too much from our Aussie, Olympic swimmers, or was it a cop-out? Should they have done better, and should we expect as much as we were expecting?
I think it's a real combination, and there isn't one thing that we can sort of expect. We can't expect our team to just kind of buck up and get on with it. On one level, we have a wonderful history and tradition and success rate in swimming at the Olympics. You know, we are incredibly successful teams, so we have created that expectation of winning gold. However, you know, the public and the media need to understand that it doesn't always just keep happening like that.
But Libby, when I'm on the couch eating me fish and chips, I don't want Australians to be second in the world. I want them to be first, all right? So remember that.
No pressure,
We'll do our best,
Susie. Libby, thanks for chatting with us tonight. Good to get your thoughts. Thanks for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Social media's been a problem, but the Americans were on social media, weren't they? And they won lots of gold medals.
Yeah, but I think being on Twitter and Facebook has cost me the Oscar. It has.
You will get an Oscar. You will get an Oscar.
Maybe the issue is with our swimming. I hope you do get an Oscar, by the way. And maybe the issue, though, in swimming is our swimming coach, Lee Nugent, who he did a media conference today, and he really confused me.
There are no guarantees in high-performance sport, so... But one thing you can be guaranteed of, we'll be doing everything we can to get a better result.
But I thought there was no guarantees.
It's time to see what's making news around the world.
Catholics in the US and Italy are asking whether the former Archbishop of Los Angeles deserves to participate in the conclave to elect the next Pope. Cardinal Roger Mahony was stripped of his duties last month after it was revealed he tried to cover up sex abuse within the church. Britain is mourning the much-loved actor Richard Bryars, who has died from emphysema at his London home. While the 79-year-old was well known for shows like The Good Life and Monarch of the Glen, he was also a highly respected Shakespearean performer. NASCAR fans are set for a big Daytona 500 on Sunday, with Danica Patrick starting from pole position. The former IndyCar driver is the first woman to ever secure the top spot on the grid.
I was brought up to be the fastest driver, not the fastest girl.
And as Reva Steenkamp's family and friends prepare for her funeral later today, local time, Oscar Pistorius is facing a South African court to apply for bail. Accused of shooting her 4 times, some legal experts say he'll have to prove exceptional circumstances to secure his freedom. 2 of his major sponsors, Oakley and Nike, have now distanced themselves from the Olympian.
Eyewitness News reporter Alex Ellisive is covering the case. Alex, what are the latest developments?
Well, we're going into the bail application at the moment, and this is when Oscar Pistorius will ask the court to set him free so that he can await his trial at home and not in a police station where he's been for the past couple of days. All eyes will be on this appearance, and the reason for that is because some of the details of the police's case against him will start to emerge. So it's a very important proceeding to watch. It may take a couple of days or even more than a week, depending. We don't know, but it is the start of a very interesting court proceeding.
Now, Alex, there's been reports that the police have discovered text messages that Reva sent to a high-profile rugby union player in South Africa. Can you tell us more about that?
There's a lot of these kind of rumours at the moment. There's also reports of steroids being found at the house. There's a mysterious cricket bat full of blood that has been found in the bedroom. So you can imagine these text messages are all coming and being thrown into the spot of speculation. There's 2 different sides. One of them is looking at Oscar's dark side, the incidents that he's had in the past, the scuffles that he's had, anger issues, jealousy, allegations of love triangles and all those kind of things. And then on the other side, you have people who are coming out and they're in shock. They're saying, we cannot believe this. We cannot believe that this is the same Oscar that we've known for the past 10 or so years in terms of his career. At the end of the day, I think once we get into the bail proceeding and then ultimately in a couple of months into the trial, all of that will come into play.
Well, we'll wait and see what comes out of the hearing later on. Alex, thanks for your time.
It's a great pleasure.
Now, guys, in happier news, a couple of guys got stuck in their car in floodwater in Queensland.
That's really happy.
No, they got rescued. They got rescued. It wasn't too bad. They got rescued. That's all good. But I just love the attitude of the rescuers. Here's one of them.
You feel pretty good about what you've done here?
Yeah, pretty good. Get a good night's sleep anyway.
So he's going to get a good night's sleep. He's pretty nonchalant about it, but he's the other rescuer is what he's going to do.
A bit of a story to tell the grandkids, you think?
Yeah, it'd be something to go and drink over for the rest of the night now.
He's going to party like he just won a grand final, so...
Do you think he needs much of an excuse to have a drink of an evening?
Look, he's a great rescuer and good on him.
Yeah, and the only person who died there was a subwoofer.
We're going to take a break, back with more after this.
It's the gift of life, and all too often never gets given.
If she doesn't get a transplant, she will die.
I wouldn't last a year. That's just the way it is.
But just talking to your family about being an organ donor makes donation much more likely.
We were allowed to follow him right to the operating door, and that's when I kissed him goodbye. For the last time. We just told him how proud we were of what he was doing.
Join our campaign to double Australia's organ donor rate. Head to the project's Donate Life Facebook page, and together we can make a difference.
Everything my skin.
Welcome back to the project.
Some more news now, and a 48-year-old man from Geelong is expected to be charged on summons with lighting a grass fire in Melbourne's northern fringe yesterday afternoon. He's been released after being arrested and questioned by police. The fast-moving blaze destroyed one home and caused traffic chaos, catching residents off guard.
This is a reality check for everyone that lives in the outer metropolitan area, that grassland fires are a reality.
Experts say petrol prices could reach $1.53 in the coming weeks, the highest national average in 4.5 years. They say prices are rising because the global economy is on the mend, pushing up the demand for oil. In Melbourne today, prices hit $1.60. And Australian dairy artisans are cheesed off after German-based supermarket chain Aldi won 49 medals at this year's Royal Ag Society Cheese and Dairy Show. They now want separate categories for generic supermarket brands and their own boutique cheese, butter and yoghurt products.
Yeah, can I say, I bet all the judges were over 70 because old people love Aldi. You know?
It's good cheese. Have you had Aldi cheese?
Jesus. No, I haven't, because I've been living in America.
What's the cheese like over there?
It's quite good. They import a lot from New Zealand, weirdly.
Ah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe Aldi need to get into the American cheese game. Although, do they even call it cheese? Because they have to change the name for every... It's just like fermented dairy wedge. What are they... That's an Aldi joke. Thanks very much for coming. It's time now to welcome our next guest.
When you think of cool, you should only think of one man, David Hasselhoff. Whether he was saving people from the sea or cruising in his car called Kit, TV icon The Hoff has gone on to become one of the most recognised and sought-after stars in the world. Celebrity judge, German singing superstar, and Guinness World Records most watched man on television ever. Proves The Hoff's still got the goods. Whatever you do, people, please never, ever hassle The Hoff.
Angst einfach.
Gearing up for his show tonight in Newcastle, please welcome David Hasselhoff!
G'day. Hello, I love it here in Newcastle.
You're becoming like a second cousin back in Australia again. How's the tour going?
Yeah, the tour's going great. We're actually sold out tonight here at Lazat's, and we're sold out tomorrow at DY, Lazat's as well. So we'll sneak in the back and we'll put you on the roof because it's going to be a good show.
Mate, you're the perfect entertainer and you're awesome and you're a living legend and you're a very rich man, Hoff. Let's not deny that. What gets you out here? Why? Why do you come out and do these theatres?
You know what? It's what I wanted to do since I was 8 years old. The first show I ever saw was Peter Pan, and I ended up doing Peter Pan in Manchester, doing a panto. I played Hoff the Hook, 50 years later. I never thought I'd be talking to a car or running in slow motion. I wanted to go to Broadway. So it's an evening with me, and don't be surprised if you end up on stage or I end up in the audience. Or it's a lot of fun, and we do a tribute to the Aussie rockers, including Doc Neeson, which is I'm quite honored to close the show with "Am I Ever Going to See Your Face Again?"
I think the path of David Hasselhoff should be studied by everyone in showbiz around the world, that anything is possible. For me, the biggest highlight was the footage of you singing atop the Berlin Wall the night that the Berlin Wall came down. I mean, what was it like to be part of that moment in history?
You know, it was an amazing thing. It was the wall came down on November 9th, 1989. My single was called "Looking for Freedom," and it was kind of an anthem for the East Germans. I went into East Germany many times because I could get in there being a celebrity, and they didn't know I was the guy who talked to the car. They knew me as the man who spoke about and sang about freedom. When that wall came down, they asked me to sing on New Year's Eve, and I did. And I said only if I could sing on the wall, figuring they'd say no. They said yes, and there was 1 million people singing Looking for Freedom from East and West Germany. And to this day, 24 years later, they're still singing it.
People talk Gorbachev, Reagan, they should be talking Hasselhoff in the history books. My big question, though, is that jacket is probably the most spectacular part of that. I'm curious, like, did you have the jacket with you, or did you think, do you know what, I need to pop home and get the electric jacket for this?
Yeah, dude, I just carried that jacket with me. I turn it on at night to go to the bathroom. What is that? Carry the jacket with me?
And Hoff, life is good for you on the love front as well. Your girlfriend Hayley Roberts is from England. Mate, how's that going?
Have you seen what she looks like? It's going incredibly well. I mean...
You still got it, Hoff. You still got it. And I gotta go back to Baywatch. Can I go back to Baywatch for a minute, mate? If I had someone to save my life, would it be Michael Knight from Knight Rider or the Baywatch? Who would I go for?
Yeah, well, I probably wouldn't save your life. I'd save the girl next to you. My ex-wife always used to say, "How come you never give mouth to men?" I said, "Because I own the show, you idiot."
I used to love that
Yes.
show, Hoff, and I love the theme song. I used to sing it very badly. Can you at least just sing us out to the end here with a bit of I'll Be There?
We actually do that in the show, and we've got 4 girls. Actually, I have 4 girls on stage right now rehearsing in slow motion because we do a gag. But mainly it's kind of getting to know the people. I was out walking across the park about 5 minutes ago, and I'm selling my house, and an offer came in on my house because I want to downsize. It's too big, and so, but I don't want. I feel bad. I don't want to sell my house, and I'm starting to get emotional. And a lady's following me around, going, "Photo, photo, photo." And I'm going, "No, I'm emotional. Can't you see? I'm sad. I'm losing my house. You're losing your house. That's good. Oh yeah. No, it's not good. Don't laugh. My daughters were born in this house." And she goes, "Oh, that's right. Your daughters were born in the house. Have a photo." I'm on the phone having a breakdown. She goes, "That's good, you're having a breakdown. That's so sweet." So, okay, hang on. How much? Okay, all right, hang on. All right, we'll counter with that. Hang on, come here. All right, give me a camera. Okay, turn around. Oh, here's the little button. Now this button turns the camera around. Let's get the sun. Hang on. We get the sun. Boom, and we take the picture. And then she kisses my hand and says thank you and walks away. So it's every day is a little adventure. People are lovely.
Yeah, Hoffman, I love your stories.
It went away.
And if you ever need some backup singers for the tour, Carrie and I are ready. We've already rehearsed. Ready, Carrie? 2, 3. I'll be there.
No.
I'll be there.
I don't know the words to that bit.
An Evening with the Hoff is currently touring the country.
Oh, we've lost him.
Head to our website for the details.
I guess that's a no.
I can't believe that he lacked the patience to hear you finish.
You just made me sing.
Wow.
He's gone.
Fantastic.
He's gone.
Thanks, Hoff.
Dustin Hoffman, ladies and gentlemen.
My favourite part of that interview with the Hoff had to be, my 2 children love
You gotta love him.
It's one of those interviews you start reminiscing as soon as you finish it. That was wonderful.
All right. Recap. If you have just joined us, here's a recap of today's headlines, and a review into our Olympic swim team is calling for cultural change within the sport, highlighting the misuse of prescription drugs, alcohol, deceit and bullying as major issues. The Greens say their alliance with the Gillard government is over because Labor chose to side with the mining industry rather than fix the mining tax. A 16-year-old from Perth who fell from a second-storey balcony after his Year 12 ball at the weekend has died in hospital. 2 students at Melbourne's prestigious Marcellin College have been expelled over alleged drug trafficking on campus. Police have also been informed. And Clive Palmer is trying to trademark the words Titanic and gigantic. His own company, Blue Star Lines, is planning to build Titanic 2, but it might not be as easy as he thinks because the word Titanic is already at the centre of several trademark battles around the world. Gigantic waste of frickin' money, that's what that is.
He can't just buy words, can he?
No, he can.
Trademark, it's specific. It's boring. But I just to point out, I've got a bit of experience. I actually own the trademark for gigantic from my days when I was in Manpower. So that's little.
Magic Charlie, was it?
Moving on to something a little more serious now, unfortunately. But violence in the home is a terrifying reality for many families, but you might be surprised to hear that increasingly the perpetrators of domestic violence are kids, some of them as young as 10.
Imagine living in fear of your own kids. That's the nightmare countless Australian families find themselves in right now, with disturbing reports of mothers being punched, sisters throttled and fathers beaten.
Parents feel ashamed, they feel embarrassed, they feel guilty. They just don't know what else to do.
State figures show police call-outs for domestic violence involving perpetrators 17 or under have nearly doubled since 2006. In 2010, there were almost 1,700 domestic violence charges brought against kids or young people in New South Wales alone. The teenage years are rough on many kids, but how does it escalate to the point where family members end up hospitalised?
It gets to the stage where parents feel they just have no other choice than to ask the police to intervene. They just don't know what else to do.
Because our legal system's not designed for 10-year-old offenders, experts are turning to other interventions, like a behaviour change project being trialled in Victoria. The 3-year pilot will require violent young people and their families to undertake an 8 to 12-week anger management course after being referred by police and court authorities. But relying on court-ordered participation means the violence has already gotten out of hand. So what can we do now about the people living in terror?
Lily Anderson created the US program which the pilot is modelled on. Lily, this must be a horrible experience for a parent to go through. How does someone feel when their own child turns on them?
They have really mixed feelings. For one, they're often shocked at first when it's happening, not knowing how to respond. They experience a lot of fear and confusion and wanting to be able to manage it themselves and finding that they really don't know how to manage it.
I can imagine, Lily. What's it like for the whole family, though, living with that going on, living with that scenario?
Often there's younger siblings in the home and they're watching it and they feel afraid. Moms talk about having younger sisters of the abuser hiding in the closet.
So, Lily, you've been running the Step Up program for about 15 years now. How does that work?
It's a group program, and parents and teens, the teen or youth who's using the violent or abusive behavior, and the parent both come to the program. We teach skills around nonviolent behavior and respectful relationships. We introduce to them a whole model of respectful family communication and problem solving. It is hard, though, to get youth to want to go to counseling for this, and they don't want to talk about it either. So sometimes it takes the court telling them that they have to go.
Is there a way to intervene earlier, before that point?
That would be ideal. It would be best if they could come into the program earlier, receive intervention as soon as the behaviors start happening. If moms were able to access help and get help immediately, of course, is always the best. The problem is, to begin with, most moms have a hard time knowing who to turn to and who to talk to and how to get help.
Now, Lily, I don't want to make light of this problem, but I've got a 20-month-old daughter who's very strong-willed and lashes out a bit. Mm-hmm. Me and my wife are very gentle parents. Can this situation happen to any parents?
It can happen to any parent. We have a whole cross-section of families that we serve, and crossing all income levels and professions and cultures. Probably the one profile that is most common is about 60%, 50 to 60% of the youth we serve have experienced domestic violence and have lived with domestic violence. But in other families where there hasn't been any violence model, it's harder to understand where it's coming from, and I think it's a variety of reasons.
Well, Lily, I'm sure there's a lot of parents who are relating to what you're saying right now, and let's hope they can get involved in this program. It's a great program. Thanks for your time tonight.
Sure, thank you.
We're going to take a break right now, but after that, we're going to be chatting to the Irwin family. Don't go anywhere.
Coming up, the challenges that lie ahead for the battlers in Bundaberg.
You know, your life is more important than material things. They can be rebuilt.
And Terry and Bindi Irwin join us live at the desk. You're watching The Project.
Just for shorty bang bang to look your way.
No diggity, no doubt. This is the project. That's the greatest moment in this show, and I thought it was the Hoff.
You were singing that in Pitch Perfect.
Yeah.
That was a good moment in Pitch Perfect.
I like to sing black songs and, you know, just makes me feel ghetto. Okay, let's move on to a different topic.
Let's go back to Australian swimming and why it's so bad. We've got some feedback. JW on Facebook says, I blame small feet. So if we can get swimmers with bigger feet, then everything will be solved. Let's move on with the show.
Time for some more news now. And controversial Dutch MP Geert Wilders says Australia must stop mass immigration from Islamic countries. The anti-Islamic campaigner, who's speaking in Melbourne tonight amid tight security, says he's not trying to insult people but believes Islam and freedom are incompatible.
No, it's not insulting.
And Hollywood heavyweights John Travolta, Liam Neeson and Selma Hayek will be among the presenters at this year's Academy Awards. The Oscars will be handed out Monday morning our time with Seth MacFarlane hosting for the first time. How's it going to go?
I think it's going to be pretty interesting. So the Oscars, it's a pretty classy event in America. It's just slightly better than the Logies.
Yeah.
Just slightly more prestigious.
Sure.
Do the women have to stand on a rotisserie on the red carpet so we can see all the angles?
This year they're going to do something a bit different on the red carpet, more of like a slip and slide thing.
Are you going?
I'm not going because unfortunately my 6-line role in What to Expect When You're Expecting didn't make the cut.
Are you going to the after parties, aren't you?
I'm going to one really cool thing. It's called The Night Before.
Yeah.
And it's at the Beverly Hills Hilton, and it's like all the actors who are getting the awards potentially just chill out casually. Just by the pool. Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
That's going to be
get
weird
the invite.
And every big name will be there, basically.
Yeah.
Have you met Tom Cruise?
No, I haven't yet.
Is that weird that he's just inviting you to stuff and you haven't met him?
What if this is like a Scientology thing?
You mentioned there, you made a joke about What to Expect When You're Expecting, but you are in a film at the moment with some pretty hunky boys.
Yeah, okay, there's a new one I'm in. It's called Pain and Gain. It was really hard to act in this because look at those muscles. They're very distracting.
What's Mark Wahlberg like?
He's a pretty good kisser. I mean, no, wait. He's an awesome actor. Like, I love him.
Were they fun to do it with?
Yeah. The guys would work out constantly during the film because they played bodybuilders, and I'd just sit there.
Well, we could keep talking, but we do have some more news to get to. And wild weather continues to bound the Queensland coast, and heavy rain has sparked new flood fears. 2 people have been rescued from a flooded causeway on the Gold Coast, and there are concerns more buildings could topple into a sinkhole that swallowed a 2-storey building in the flood-ravaged city of Bundaberg. That's just the latest setback for Bundaberg, a town that's been hit by 2 major floods in as many years. We sent the project's Natasha Exelby to Bundaberg to find out how the residents are coping.
We've been seeing the pictures on our TV sets for weeks, but it's not until you actually arrive here that you realise just how devastating this situation is. Just the smell and also the dust is so thick, and then you see houses that have been swept clean off their stilts and old Queenslanders like this one that now just look like shanties.
But beyond this rubble is something far more powerful than any flood.
There's volunteers from all walks of life. People have just come in off the street. They've heard that we need help.
A lot of us are here because they feel kind of guilty that they weren't really affected badly, so they feel, what can we do to help?
One volunteer who stole our hearts was Sandy Proudly.
Come through and have a look. It's not much to see a bare house. This is our bedroom, what's left of our bedroom. All the drawers are gone.
With her house underwater, the Salvation Army volunteer was at an evacuation centre. Instead of saving her own home, she was helping other residents to keep safe.
Your life is more important than material things. They can be rebuilt. It's just I like to be there and to help.
And who's here to help you?
My husband.
Despite the task ahead, Sandy and her husband Phil are determined to rebuild.
Something that happens, nothing we could control. That's the way life is, isn't it?
Look, these people are doing it tough. It is a hard time ahead of us, but we will pull together. We'll do whatever we can as a council to try and ease them through that pain.
10% of Bundaberg was flooded and almost 4,000 homes were affected. Around 400 of those were declared uninhabitable and 50 homes will have to be completely demolished. Farms in the region have been hit with a damage bill of around $100 million.
We've got about 62,000 trees here and 50,000 of them went under. Some completely submerged and some only 3 or 4 foot through them.
Michael McMahon's citrus farm was also flooded in 2011. It's been a struggle ever since.
Was there ever a point where you looked at this and you went, I can't do this?
Yeah, and I've been through, had those thoughts a few times. You know, you sort of wonder why have I chosen to do this with my life? Like maybe I should be going to do something else.
But then you see things like this. School kids giving up their time to help. Volunteers from all over lending a hand.
If you can't get here to pick up a shovel, look, the best thing you can do is get out and support our brands and support those growers that have been affected by buying our fruit. And if you buy a kilo, buy 2 kilos, or if you buy half a kilo, buy 1 kilo, and that'll make the biggest difference to us and help us get back on our feet.
And you will get back on your feet?
Absolutely, yeah. This has been a bit of a knock on the chin, but it's not going to beat me. If that's the best Mother Nature can dish out, well, she'll have to do better than that.
And if you want to help the people of Queensland get back on their feet, the details for donations are on our website. And just get out there, like I said, just buy lots of Aussie fruit. Why not? Do it.
Time to take a break now. We'll be back with Terry and Bindi Owen. Jockey Danny Nikolic has had his 2-year racing ban halved despite an attempt by Racing Victoria to have it increased. The tribunal heard today Nikolic had all but given up after being banned for threatening a steward and his family at a race meet last September. And a leather bomber jacket that once belonged to US President John F. Kennedy has sold for more than $650,000 at auction. Found in a dusty attic, the Air Force One jacket bears the presidential seal and had only been expected to fetch up to $40,000.
If that jacket could talk, JFK had a good time.
You bid on that. Tell me you bid on that.
I was going to, but then I mortgaged my house and instead I bid on this jacket. Right there.
Yeah.
And that is money well spent.
I would have paid at least $400 for that jacket.
Definitely. Right now, though, it's time for our next guest. Carrying on Steve Irwin's incredible legacy, Terry, Bindi and Robert continue to spread the conservation message around the planet.
Being a wildlife warrior means to dedicate your life to making the world a better place for future generations.
Be it Bindi's own television shows, fitness DVDs, books and even a fashion line, all whilst running the 70-acre Australia Zoo.
It's not a good day if you don't get to kiss a giraffe.
Along with wildlife, the Irwins are also focused on the health and well-being of their two-legged friends, including trying to tackle the problem of childhood obesity. We all know our kids should be eating their serves of fruit and veg on top of running around and getting lots of exercise, but it's a message that still doesn't appear to be getting through, with 1/4 of children in Australia overweight or obese. And figures released yesterday reveal 85% of males and 75% of females will be obese by 2025.
Please welcome Terry and Bindi Irwin. 2025, that's only 12 years away. That's a lot of the population that's going to be overweight.
It's scary. It's really scary, actually. And it's funny, too, for me, because I look at so many of my friends who have eating disorders, whether they're anorexic or obese. They just don't feel good about themselves. So I always try and tell kids, you know, it's not about what you look like. It's about how you feel on the inside. Because if you feel good, if you're fueling your body with good food, it makes such a big difference.
Absolutely. Now, Terry, your children obviously run around all the time chasing crocodiles, and you know, which is so they're fit. But what would you say to the parents of Australia who can't get their kids or who are having trouble getting their kids out there?
Well, see, we didn't used to call it exercise. We used to call it playing. So maybe we could just play with our kids. And I think the backlash to that, like Bindi loves hiking. We were in Tasmania recently and we summited Cradle Mountain twice. And it's just fun. It's just getting out together and having fun. You don't have to make it a big effort, you know, and I think
But isn't there a Cradle Mountain game you could play on your iPad instead? Surely.
I summited 14 times!
New best record!
Now, once upon a time you used to give a kid an apple to munch on, but now you guys are involved in a new line of sliced apples, is that right? Is that part of the problem, that our kids need their apples sliced now?
Well, it's really a cool idea. So when you go to a party and there's a bowl of apples or there's sliced fruit, which are you going to pick up? Plus, it's in a packet that makes that crinkly sound that every kid can hear from the other room and come running in and say, can I have some?
I've actually tried it, and eating from a bag makes things tastier. Seriously.
Why?
I don't know, it just does.
It's amazing.
It's been working for horses for years.
But now, guys, I've heard that kangaroo meat is quite healthy.
Oh, that's a big misnomer.
Really? So we shouldn't be eating kangaroos?
95% of kangaroo meat has traces of salmonella and over 50% E. coli. And in fact, it's bush meat. So you can't farm kangaroos. You got to go out and drive a little truck and shoot them in the head, and sometimes they don't die, and it's awful.
It's really sad. So we're big advocates of the non-consumptive use of wildlife, because you'll never get the world to become vegetarian, but you can get the world to stop eating our wild animals. We don't want to see shark fin soup, kangaroos, emus on the menu.
But isn't that weird marketing? Because I've heard exactly the same thing.
Really
and you go, well, I want to eat healthy. So
and then sometimes you see those kangaroos on the road and you're like, oh, is that a better option than the You know, thanks for clarifying that, because now I'm just going to be like,
no, it's tempting, but keep driving.
Can I show an example of your love of wildlife? This is, you guys today were with a massive snake, and just check out Robert here and his professionalism, and no matter what the snake's up to, Robert doesn't panic. He lets Bindi get on with what she's doing. He's just like, I'm just going to go with this. He's going with it. Eventually, Bindi works out what's going on, and you just get on with your day. I mean, it's just incredible.
My little son Ollie loves Robert, and I told him he was coming on tonight, and you guys are here, but Robert's over there. Can you just come on for 1 sec, Robert, just for 2 seconds? Because he was it's hard to fit you all on. Just give us a little wave. Give us a little hello. To keep up to date with what the Irwins are up to, head to our website, follow the links, all the details are there. Would you please thank Terry, Bindi and Robert Irwin?
We're going to take a break. We're going to be back in a moment with more. Don't go anywhere. Project, Dave, some breaking news.
Yeah, well, a 15-metre trawler was shipwrecked at Cronulla today. I tell you what, though, there it is, right there. And I tell you what, the rescuers, they went the extra yard to make sure they did the right thing in the rescue. Listen to the spokesperson.
It's an unusual event, certainly one that, but we were prepared for, and were able to respond to in a very quick and fashionable manner.
They were fashionable in their response. That hat looks beautiful.
It's time now for what people on the streets are calling the top 5.
The alliance between the Greens and Labor is dead, according to Greens leader Christine Milne. A review by Swimming Australia has found there were toxic incidents at the Olympics by some of our swimmers, including lying, bullying, drunken behaviour and misuse of prescription drugs. In some shocking news, an increasing number of perpetrators of domestic violence are kids, some as young as 10. Expected to reach a national average of $1.53 a litre, petrol prices are too damned high. And for once, it's not just my nan complaining about it. And finally, in an apparent dig at the PM's Scottish advisor John McTernan, Tony Abbott has boasted that everyone in the coalition speaks with a strong Australian accent. What a flaming dingo.
Hot stuff.
Before we go, let's see what's on the show tomorrow.
Tomorrow on The Project, are people getting away with murder? The legal defence families say is depriving them of justice.
After 6 years, he can meet his family. He can survive, he can live his life as he lived before, but we can't see my sister anymore.
Plus, the always entertaining Sean McAuliffe joins us live at the desk. News but not as you know it, The Project, 6:30 weeknights here on 10.
We're almost out of time, but you're going back to America tomorrow, hosting MTV Movie Awards?
Flying off now.
Hosting the MTV Movie Awards.
Yeah,
That's
it's going to be massive.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We've got to go, though, quick. Give it up for Rebel Wilson.